Tes, 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 tes.
Yeah, I can use a stick because otherwise I have to connect my laptop again on the. I, Yang Zoom suka berapa? Jangan saya lihat biar video. Yeah. So we have 30 already waiting.
Oh, that's good.
30. So maybe dikasih tahu kita akan mulai sekitar 10 menit lagi karena masih belum persiapan dan peserta yang di line.
Yeah.
Sugeng Enjang, Bapak dan Ibu yang kami hormati, selamat pagi. Kami mohon izin untuk menyampaikan acara ini sedang kita persiapkan, menunggu beberapa persiapan teknis. Kita akan mulai sekitar 10 menit lagi. Kami berterima kasih telah hadir pada pukul 8, jadi ini kami mohon maaf ada sedikit penyesuaian waktu untuk mulai. Dan untuk Bapak dan Ibu yang sudah bergabung di dalam Zoom, kami juga berterima kasih sudah bergabung. Kami mohon pemahaman dan permaklumannya. Kami ingin sedang mempersiapkan beberapa hal dan sambil menunggu beberapa peserta yang sedang proses join. Jadi kita akan mulai sekitar 10 menit lagi. Terima kasih atas pengertiannya.
It's been working really hard to set up all of this technology.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
hardware.
especially.
Yeah, and she's also doing our she's our staff. Yeah, she's our staff. She was supposed to be doing last night, but I think we forgot to check this. So she's the one who emailed and arranged for you. Oh really? She sent you she's helping with the integration. Ali.
Super. Look,
Which one?
it's the. Can you arrange? Yeah, the first one. Yeah, this one. Yeah.
This one.
Okay.
Yes.
Does it work?
Perfect.
Can I also move? Yeah, yeah.
You can move using this monitor. So for the next slide, you hit the right one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Then, okay. I will
Working?
hit here. For the
No.
in the
Maybe there's no pointer. I don't need a pointer, so it's no problem.
I can level 5. Then this one format, so we can use the one
Yeah.
and the pointer is the one in that.
I am. Good. Nice. Better.
Do you want to start?
Yeah. You are. Yeah.
Okay. Put more
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so they will be able to see the so I shall like
Selamat pagi Bapak dan Ibu yang kami hormati. Selamat datang dan kami ucapkan banyak terima kasih atas partisipasi, kehadiran, dan ketertarikan minatnya terhadap bioethics. Pada pagi hari ini kami akan mulai melaksanakan kick-off aktivitas pertama untuk program Bioethics Week yang memberikan kesempatan kita untuk sama-sama berinteraksi bersama dengan visiting professor yang sudah hadir bersama kita di sini, yaitu Profesor Albert Mollewijk dari Amsterdam Medical Center di Belanda. Jadi program kegiatan Visiting Professor atau Bioethics Week ini terselenggara dengan dukungan dan fasilitasi dari hibah Visiting Professor dari Fakultas Kedokteran Kesehatan Masyarakat dan Keperawatan UGM dan dilaksanakan oleh Center for Bioethics and Medical Humanities FKKMK UGM juga didukung oleh Prodi S2 Bioethics UGM, juga tidak lupa UNESCO Chair for Bioethics UGM. Jadi acara ini sebagai bentuk kolaborasi dari beberapa unit dan tentunya fasilitasi dari universitas dan fakultas, tapi juga kami sangat berterima kasih atas dukungan dan partisipasi dari Bapak dan Ibu jejaring bioetika yang ada di Indonesia, yang juga sama-sama sudah bersama dengan center kita menggiatkan bioethics begitu ya. Jadi untuk kali ini hari pertama kick off-nya kita mulai dengan kuliah umum tentang bioethics relevance untuk profesi kesehatan. Jadi relevansi bioethics untuk profesi kesehatan dan juga pelayanan kesehatan dan bahkan penelitian dan juga pendidikan. Jadi untuk kuliah yang pertama ini memang akan secara general Prof. Bert akan memberikan gambaran ilustrasi dan mungkin sharing of experience bagaimana di Netherlands. Intinya untuk sama-sama raise awareness, meningkatkan awareness dan juga merefresh komitmen bahwa ini bioethics, medical ethics, clinical ethics adalah sebuah kebutuhan yang mendasar. Jadi ini hanya bisa dicapai juga dengan cara kolektif, jadi tidak hanya bisa dengan individual. Pada sesi hari ini kita akan dengan bilingual karena Prof. Bert akan menyampaikan materi dan komunikasinya dengan bahasa Inggris, tapi Bapak dan Ibu kami mohon juga tetap bisa nyaman, kami akan mengupayakan supaya bisa terfasilitasi dalam bahasa Indonesia. Jadi apabila dibutuhkan dan kami akan berusaha untuk memfasilitasi pertanyaan dan diskusi dalam bahasa Indonesia, itu bisa dilakukan. Jadi nanti kita akan sama-sama menjembatani supaya bisa berkomunikasi dengan Prof. Bert. Dan apabila ada pertanyaan atau ada komentar yang ingin disampaikan, jangan ragu-ragu untuk menyampaikan. Bagi Bapak dan Ibu yang ada di online, kami menyapa juga. Selamat pagi, terima kasih sudah join secara online. Apabila akan ada masukan atau pertanyaan atau tanggapan, bisa ditulis di chat terlebih dahulu, atau nanti bila ingin langsung menyampaikan, bisa raise hand, nanti kami akan membuka mic dan memberikan kesempatan untuk berinteraksi dengan Prof. Bert. Dan so I will start introducing Prof. Bert Molewik. Welcome. Good morning, Prof. Bert. This is your first session, so this is a kickoff. So I will introduce you first to the audience here. So we prepared a little bit of a slide for your CV. Bert, I think I need to move a little bit. So Professor Albert Molewik, Prof. Bert berasal dari Belanda dan beliau adalah seorang full-time professor di bidang clinical ethics, quality of care. Departemennya di AMC, full AMC adalah Ethics, Law, and Medical Humanities. Kemudian saat ini Prof. Bert juga menjabat sebagai Head of the Section Ethics Support and Research Integrity, juga co-founder dan coordinator untuk European Clinical Ethics Network, dan General Secretary untuk European Association of Center for Medical Ethics. Jadi ini adalah institusi yang memang giat mengadvokasi bioethics, melakukan research bioethics di Eropa. Jadi beliau memang sangat aktif di sana, dan beliau juga mengajar selain di AMC di Amsterdam, juga di University of Oslo. Jadi kami sangat beruntung mendapatkan jadwal beliau dalam beberapa hari ini menyempatkan ke Indonesia. And this is also your first time in Indonesia, Prof. Bert. Yeah. Third day, first time in Indonesia, third day in Indonesia, second day in, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So kita akan segera menyerahkan sesi kepada Profesor Bert. Saya lupa memperkenalkan diri. Nama saya Wika. Saya adalah staf dari Center Bioethics and Medical Humanities, dan pada pagi hari ini saya akan menjadi moderator yang membantu memfasilitasi. Jadi Bapak dan Ibu jangan segan untuk kemudian menyampaikan pendapat atau berkomentar atau mengklarifikasi atau berbagi pengalaman, karena Prof. Bert akan juga sebetulnya ingin mendengar pengalaman dari Bapak dan Ibu yang ada di sini. Jadi kalau kemarin kami diskusi dengan Prof. Bert, it's a mutual. Jadi ini adalah sebuah hubungan kerjasama yang mutual, karena selain kita butuh belajar dari pengalaman Prof. Bert dan practicing bioethics yang ada di Europe, tapi Prof. Bert juga sangat eager, sangat tertarik dengan apa bioethics dan bagaimana sudut pandang bioethics dilakukan di Asia, terutama di Indonesia. Jadi ini adalah mutual learning session dan juga sharing of norms, cultures, and belief. Mungkin langsung saja. So without further ado, I would like to give the opportunity to Prof. Bert to do some ice breaking or maybe introduce yourself more, rather than our movie, or maybe your impression with the third day being in Jogja. Okay, so without further ado, Prof. Bert, time is yours, and don't hesitate to let us know if you feel like you want to invite interaction. Then I will also help encourage the participant.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Vika. Hello, everybody. It's I will talk English, of course. It's really an honor to be here. It's my first talk. I have been here since yesterday in Yogyakarta. I'm still overwhelmed by the hospitality of the team and of the team from the Center of Bioethics that introduced me. So I feel a lot of gratitude really to be here the first time in Indonesia. And I think for me, visiting Indonesia is important because I'm really interested also to learn from you this week. And this morning, I will talk a little bit about my experience from Amsterdam and my profession. But in this week, I would like to get, and during today, I would like to get to know how you work with ethics or how you teach with ethics. So I'm not only here to give talks, I'm also to learn, because I think, especially in intercultural contexts, so different cultures and different countries, there are different ideas about how you can work with ethics. So I'm here also to learn. Again, I feel really honored that you took the effort to ask for a grant so I can come here, and I'm not only overwhelmed by the hospitality but also by the Indonesian food yesterday evening. It was I think yesterday I enjoyed 10 or 15 new tastes, four kinds of sambal. I like sambal, so, and it's the other sambal than from the Netherlands. So it's really, but yeah, it's really and it's only the second day. So I'm really already full with impressions and emotions. Thanks a lot. Today, this morning, I will talk about ethics a little bit, about clinical ethics, and it will be a combination of theoretical reflection. In Amsterdam, how do we see ethics? But it will also be practical, I hope. For example, how can you use ethics in the hospital in Amsterdam? We have a huge program with doing ethics in the hospital, not only with nurses and doctors, but also with cleaners, with the secretary staff, with the board of the directors, with the managers. So we do a lot of ethics, not only as teaching, but also doing ethics. We try to work ethics with the ethics in practice. And maybe my first message or my first impression is that ethics is in many places. You don't have to be an ethicist. If I talk to the secretary of a professor, and the professor and the secretary gets a phone from outside, and the professor is saying to the secretary, I don't want to speak to this person. Say to the person that I'm not there. You know what I mean? Then the secretary has already a kind of moral issue, maybe, because then the secretary has to say, and the professor is here, and she's saying, sorry, sir, but the professor is not there. So this is a small example, but and for example, cleaning the room. If in the hospital, when people are the cleaners that I have to clean the room, there are very many ways how you can clean a room. Not only technically, but also morally. So for example, cleaners of a room, In the Netherlands, they have moral stress because they say, should I clean the room according to the protocol? I have 10 minutes to clean this room. Or should I clean the room in the way the patient wants me to clean the room? Do you understand? So this is a very practical example. The secretary and the cleaning. But that, for me, there are already ethical or moral issues. Because it's about what is good cleaning? Should I follow the protocol or should I follow the wish of this patient with respect to cleaning? And the secretary, should I lie that the professor is standing there, but I say, no, he's out of the office? So it's, I think there are many ethics. So for me, the basic experience is ethics is not only when we talk about beginning of life or end of life, it's also about the small things in life. So I think ethics is relevant for everybody. Now I got this nice. It's working. I will. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So this is a little bit the outline of the presentation for today. I will talk first a little bit of where I work, and then I will talk with some personal reflections, why I came into ethics. And then I want to ask you about, we will talk about ethics and ethics support in Amsterdam. We will talk about how we see ethics as a dialogue. And then I will say a little bit about the use and abuse of ethics support. I will explain later. And then I will tell a little bit about the differences between ethics support and psychological support or legal support. That's for later. But first of all, I will present a little bit about my, this one. Yeah. So this is a brief introduction of our department in Amsterdam. So we have, this is the department where I work in Amsterdam. I have a small contract in Oslo, but my main contract, I'm based in Amsterdam. And the Amsterdam has two, so here there are 4 or 5 medical faculties, I just learned, 5 in Yogyakarta. And more coming. It's really amazing. So in Amsterdam we have only 2 2 medical centers and 2 medical faculties from 2 different universities. So the University of Amsterdam with the Amsterdam Medical Center and the Free University with the Free University Medical Center. They are now merging the 2 medical centers. So now we are called here Amsterdam University Medical Centers. So it's a huge, I think we have about, I don't know how huge your centers, but it's about 70,000 employees, 17. I work on this on this department, and in the department, this is our head, Professor Mariette van den Hove, and we have 4 sections. So this is a department in the medical faculty, and there is a department of healthcare law. There is a department about ethics in care, with, for example, subgroups like ethics in psychiatry, ethics and technology, ethics and artificial intelligence, ethics and public health. That's this one. Then there's section diversity and participation. That's about how to include patients and citizens in reflection, and how to develop participatory methodologies in research. And I'm the head or the team leader of this section with about 25 people, all working on ethics support and research integrity. We have a strong ethics support infrastructure in the hospital. So we are from the university, but if you look at me, you could say I am an academic ethicist from the university, but I'm also a clinical ethicist from the hospital. And I work at both sides. We really, in our department, we really feel that as ethicists, we should not only work in academia on the university, but we should also work with ethics support in the hospital. So people, our staff in my team, we usually ask, there are people, they ask them that they do research, a little bit teaching or a lot of teaching, and ethics support in the hospital. So there's 3 pillars of every. And why do I say this? Because to be honest, to be frank, I think our ethics support in the hospital is so successful because we are quite pragmatic, like the small ethics cases. But we also use our ethics support. We evaluate our ethics support. So if we go to the hospital, then we ask the cleaners, the nurse, the doctors, the leaders, do you like our ethics supports? How does it help you? Should we change it? So it's really using research is really important to develop your service. So that's a little bit my background as an organization. And I forgot to say hi to the people in the online. Sorry, I forgot. I was so welcome also for the people online. And I cannot see you, but you can see me. And for all of you online and here, if there is any question or unclarity, you can ask in your own language. Yeah.
Yes, in bahasa, and ya, dan saya akan membantu menjembatani, mengkomunikasikan hal tersebut. Jadi jangan segan Bapak dan Ibu karena interaksi dialog, karena memang intinya itu yang mau dipromosikan adalah ethics as a dialogue. Jadi we encourage active participation to discuss and have dialogues with you.
Yeah. I think my lecture will be maybe more fun, but also more relevant if you can ask questions, if you don't understand, or if you. So I really feel very ease or happy if you have questions in between. So you can ask questions the first one, yeah.
Thank you, Professor Mulowik. Good morning, and good morning to Dr. Rika and all participants. I would like to ask a question to you. In the hospital in Netherlands or in Amsterdam, do you have the ethics committee of the hospital? It is specifically to safeguard the ethics or the moral attitude of the doctors who work in the hospital. Thank you.
Sorry, so what is your question about?
My
the
question
role
is
of the
about ethics committee in the hospital. Do
Yeah.
you have it, or maybe in another form? Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I'm really happy that I got the first question. Thank you. No, it's not a joke. It's important to ask questions, and I have 30 slides, but you can get all my slides. But it's better to have questions. So I will explain later that we have an ethics committee. And we also have case discussions in the floor. So I will explain on the next slide, and then I come back to you. Is that okay? Yeah. So we have one ethics committee. I'm a member of the ethics committee. Yeah, the second question. Yes.
Okay. I'm making sure I take notes so that later we come back to the questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Mulowik. This is about the ethics supports and research integrity. I think it's very, very important, and especially at the moment, we have what we call it. Last year the Minister of Health just launching what we call it Biomedical Genome Science Initiative. It means that at the hospital, doctors start to use the research result to be part of their services. This is about everything for every diseases. So about precision medicine. So my question is, we want to know about what you have done in Amsterdam in this kind of ethics support in precision medicine.
In precision medicine.
Yes.
Oh,
Thank you
that's
so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the second question. I don't have a clear answer on that because we deliver ethics support for many clinical questions and policy questions, and even for sometimes economic questions in the hospital or human resource management questions. But for precision medicine, maybe my colleagues in the department, but I have not been involved with ethics support. We do some teaching about precision medicine and the ethics of precision medicine. Yeah, another.
Strong ethics. What do you mean with strong ethics?
Oh, sorry. Sorry. What do I mean with this one? Yeah. What I mean is, I will come to that later on the slide about the ethics support we have in the hospital. I will, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So 2 more questions that I will keep in.
Yeah, and also one more. This is about interdisciplinary expertise center.
Yeah.
Yeah. In this precision medicine, we use a lot of what we call a translational research team.
Yeah.
So it means the team is comprised of clinicians, biomedical researchers, bioinformatics, as well as ethical team. So yeah, this is my concern is about them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Translation research team. I really like the concept because we in our department also there are nurses, there are doctors, there are ethicists, philosophers, management scientists, occupational science. So many different disciplines work together, and I will tell a little bit more about that as well. Now let's start. And if there are questions online, please use the chat, isn't it?
Yes,
And,
yes.
Yeah, and I can also already say that the slides and even maybe the lecture is available for you, so you can have the slides later for your own.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. This is a little bit too much on the slide, but this gives information about all the. This is maybe you cannot read it, but this is about all the doctoral thesis on clinical ethics in Amsterdam from the beginning. So you see many different colleagues from us. They have did a PhD in clinical ethics, and some recent, for example, last year, it was about what are the outcomes, what is the impact of ethics case discussions in the hospital here. That was 2020. Or this is another doctor. He's a doctor. Sorry. He is a doctor, a psychiatrist, and he did a study about moral challenges in transgender care in Amsterdam. A lot of ethics there, of course. And my colleague Anne Schaap just finished her thesis about ethics reflection in the prison. So this is funny. This is about ethics reflection in the prison. And here you see we had an ethics education in the military and ethics in contra-terrorism or counter-terrorism. At the use of ethics and the use of ethics reflection in education. So this is an impression of all the work that we have been working on the last 20 years, or 10 years, but okay. I will come back to the ethics support. This is a little bit my personal story. Why do I talk about my personal story? Because I think there are many ways of doing ethics and many aims of doing ethics. Sorry. I have to get. I started when I was very young. I was a mental health care nurse training. Then I was a nurse at the intensive care unit. And as a matter of fact, I wanted to become a psychiatrist. So from nurse to psychiatrist. And as a matter of fact, I wanted to become a psychiatrist. So from nurse to psychiatrist. I like to be a nurse, but I also like to be more thinking about psychiatric problems and people had. So I went to the university here when I was 24 to become a psychiatrist. But then in the university, in the first year, I had a lecture about ethics and philosophy, and I was in love. I really was in love. I thought, this is so important. This is so thinking and critical and difficult. So on this time, I stopped for being a caregiver, or I didn't become a psychiatrist, but I thought, oh, I like ethics. So I did a free master in ethics, and I also became social scientist. So if I introduce myself, I say I'm an ethicist, I'm a trainer, and a scientist, and an ethicist. So I'm also a scientist, a social scientist. So then I became a researcher, my first job as an ethicist. Then I did my PhD in Leiden. Why did I do my PhD? Not because I wanted to become a professor. I never thought about a professor, never, really. But I wanted to do my PhD because I was uncertain about myself. And I think that's a strength in ethics. Somehow I like uncertainty. I can deal with uncertainty. I don't want to, so because I was uncertain, I said, I hope I can, as a PhD, you can learn more about research. So the reason I wanted to become a doctor in science is not because, career or whatever, or positions, but because I wanted to learn. And I'm still learning. I'm learning here as well. So this was about patient autonomy and empirical ethics. It's another topic. Then I became a postdoc researcher, but then, this is important for today. Here I was a postdoc researcher, I was an ethicist in the university. I am still an ethicist in the university, but here I was at university, and in my private time, I went to the a kind of educational program, and they had a Socratic dialogue. Does anybody know what a Socratic dialogue is? I can tell briefly. A Socratic dialogue, Socrates. Socrates is my favorite philosopher, Socrates. We can talk the whole day about Socrates, but I will not do. But the Socratic dialogue is a way of philosophy, not by teaching, not by reading books, but it's about doing philosophy, talking about your own experience and your own thinking. So Socrates said, of course, it's good to read books. You don't need to read books to learn morally what is morally wisdom and what is morally good. So a Socratic dialogue is a kind of dialogue with each other. It's not teaching, and I had this dialogue. It was, let me be clear, 7 evenings of 3 hours. We had a dialogue about one case and one question. So I was an ethicist at that time. I was an ethicist, books, papers, conferences, and a lot of theory. And then suddenly in the evening, I went to this dialogue. So 7 evenings, 3 hours, so that's 21 hours in total, discussing and doing philosophy about one concrete case from one of the participants about the moral question, what is tolerance? What is tolerance? So maybe why I tell this is at that moment I fell in love again. Not about ethics, but about doing ethics with people and doing critical thinking about how people reason themselves. So not about teaching, not about books, like at university, but how people think themselves. So at that moment in my career, I said to myself, I still work at university, but I like this kind of doing ethics with the people in the room. More, or not more, but I think it's very important. And it's another way of doing ethics or philosophy than reading about philosophy or like Socrates, Kant, or Plato, or so. For me, this had a personal impact, and then I changed my career into clinical ethics. That's my background. Therefore, I have this long introduction. Sorry for this. So then I became a researcher. Here I'm still working with ethical theories. I'm still reading philosophy, but my main job now is trying to help people in practice, doctors, nurses, leaders, board of directors, to think for themselves and to have a dialogue together. That's my main work now. So I'm now doing research in ethics support with people in the hospital, or people in the military service, or people in the prison. So not only healthcare. And in 2019, I have the luck to become the first professor in clinical ethics support. There are many professors in ethics, medical ethics, healthcare ethics, bioethics, environmental ethics, food ethics, but there is not one chair yet about ethics support. So ethics support, my profession, my talk is about if you want to support people in thinking about ethical issues in practice, the small ethical issues, but also the heavy ethical issues like end of life or the value of life, then I think ethics support is a very nice. So then the last slide about myself, I will be a little bit more quick now. Then I'll start about the. For me, I'm a kind of ethicist that I like ethics because it's always about something that matters to us. And ethics is never dull, because today we talk about ethics of artificial intelligence, and in 10 years there are new ethical issues. It's never dull. There will always be ethical problems, I think. Personally, I'm not. Of course, I studied. I was a nurse, so I like to be in contact with people. Not all ethicists like that. Some ethicists like to work in books and in the office. That's also okay. But me, I'm an ethicist. I like one of the few moments or rare moments that we sit together and that we tell about our ethical thoughts and concerns. And usually, I'm not sure how the work ethos is here in Indonesia, but in Amsterdam, people don't have time to have team meetings. So a lot of sometimes I learn that nurses, they don't have time to have team meetings, multidisciplinary team meetings, because it's too busy. I think this is very unhealthy. I think this is really a risk. It's also a risk for the health of the well-being of the nurses or the doctors. So if you support, it's one of the few moments, if you have 1 hour with nurses and doctors to talk about that space, it's one of the few moments in life that people really listen. That's also what I have. So here, in this personal experience, 7 evenings of 3 hours, I felt that there was really time to listen to each other, and to be critical. I really felt safe. At the university, I don't always feel safe. Why not? Because sometimes at the university, philosophers or ethicists, they want to show off what they know. Or they want to convince you, no, Kant said this, no, Kant said that. So sometimes I felt as Bert, I felt that the academic climate can be a little bit harsh because people want to convince each other or be. So, but in a Socratic dialogue and in ethics support, it's more about active listening, not trying to convince each other. So it's really about, I think, connecting to the other. So therefore, again, for me, doing ethics is really about being interested in the person and not only in the theory. Of course, I'm interested in theory as well. So another way of why I like ethics, I'm not sure about your culture, but usually around the world, it's difficult to disagree with each other. Usually. For many reasons. People are afraid of conflicts. People are afraid of offending people. People want to respect everyone. But I think the core of ethics is critical thinking. So for me, if you have doing ethics support, I will talk about it later. For me, ethics support is a place of freedom where you can be critical, but really respectful to each other. And that, I think that's my passion about ethics, that I'm afraid for conflicts myself. I don't like to have, but within ethics, I feel there is a freedom and a kind of boundary or an, intention that we know we respect each other in ethics, but we also know, because we are doing ethics, we can be critical. And for me, this is I think the reason why I think my ethics support is important, is that it can help people to not to offend each other, not to hurt each other, but to accept that people think differently. Okay, so for me, it's often being critical thinking, I think, is a way of, like in education, moral learning, and it can help you to build up the professional competence. Well, that's a long story. I will now finish with this slide here. So again, we as in Amsterdam, we like theoretical ethics, but we in Amsterdam like also the connection with people, personally. But there can be very different ways of doing ethics. I think that's important. So if one moment for interaction. The slides about ethics support is still coming after this. But this is a practical question, but it's also a theoretical question. This talk is about ethics. And some of you, I know, are ethicists, or some of you teach ethics, or some of you. But my question is, how do you recognize where the ethics is? Can somebody... I'm not looking for one answer. This is just a brainstorm. So if I'm not sure if you talk at home or with children or with your neighbor about ethical issues or moral issues, but so how do we know that there is an ethical issue?
Okay, let me. Yeah, so let me clarify first before I try to encourage. So the question will be to ask the audience to share their perspective, how they identify or aware that, oh, this is an ethical problem, this is a moral conflict for me. So that's the question. Or indicators, or what usually characterizes in each of the participants' perspective, so that you can recognize, oh, this is an ethical issues, this is the moral issues.
And the message behind it, there are different ways of seeing where the ethics is. Therefore, I'm curious how people think about.
Okay. Yeah.
You can translate.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I need to translate everything, because I'm still fascinated. Also, I'm learning a lot. Bapak dan Ibu, Prof Bert ingin berbagi, mengetahui gitu ya perspektif, karena tadi kalau dari kuliah Prof Bert dari depan ada beberapa hal yang menjadi key point, yaitu bahwa ethics itu ada di mana-mana menurut Prof Bert ya. Menurut Prof Bert ethics itu ada di mana-mana, bahkan sampai hal yang terkecil gitu. Nah, ini sekarang Prof Bert ingin mengetahui sebaliknya dari pandangan Bapak dan Ibu, dan berbeda tidak apa-apa, artinya tidak harus setuju dengan apa yang dipandang oleh Prof Bert, bahwa ethics itu adalah sesuatu yang in daily occurrence. Jadi Prof Bert ingin tahu, Bapak dan Ibu berkenan berbagi, biasanya Bapak dan Ibu mengenali bahwa ini adalah masalah etik, bahwa ini adalah problem etik, atau ini adalah konflik moral, itu biasanya bagaimana gitu. Mengenalinya itu apakah kalau membuat saya jadi galau ataukah membuat menurut saya kalau ada perbedaan prinsip itu adalah masalah etik. Jadi apa yang kemudian dipakai oleh Bapak dan Ibu sebagai kriteria untuk mengenali bahwa oh menurut saya ini masalah etik, ini masalah moral misalnya. Jadi Prof. Bert ingin juga tahu gitu karena kita sangat mungkin punya sudut pandang yang berbeda gitu tentang bagaimana melihat etik. Dr. Joko.
Mohon maaf nanti tidak bisa selesai, minta izin. Pertama, di mana itu etik? Menurut saya, begitu ada hubungan antar individu atau apapun, pasti di situ timbul etik. Dokter dengan pasien, dokter dengan dokter, dokter dengan perawat, dan sebagainya. Bahkan sekarang ini yang marak adalah, kan sekarang trending topik, ethical politik. Kan sekarang ini luar biasa. Di TV itu begitu, kadang tidak etis kalau ya. Ini kan ada 3 calon ini kan sedang ramai kan ya. Ini ramai betul ini. Jadi ya etik itu di mana-mana. Nah kemudian saya menggarisbawahi apa yang disampaikan Romo. Ternyata pelanggaran etik itu tidak ada. Romo. Yang ada adalah pelanggaran kode etik. Terus bawa kemana Romo? Nggak ada. Ya betul ya, nggak ada pelanggaran etik itu. Yang ada adalah pelanggaran kode etik. Etik yang sudah dikodifikasi, itulah yang dilanggar. Kalau pelanggaran etik kok rasanya susah ya, Romo. Itu saya bawa kemana, Romo? Ya, itu kemudian kalau konteksnya di ID, kan beberapa saat yang lalu kan juga muncul itu. Petinggi kita itu diputuskan oleh MKEK melanggar kode etik. Dia punya sesuatu yang untuk pasien, ternyata dalam tanda kutip itu belum evidence based, tapi baru testimoni based. Nah, kemudian apa bedanya dokter dengan ponari? Saya kira itu saja. Nah, yang lain saya kira masih banyak itu. Dan mohon maaf saya tidak biasa saya menarik.
Terima kasih Dr. Joko. Dok, mohon maaf konfirmasi klarifikasi satu. Berarti ini tadi yang highlight-nya adalah kalau sesuatu yang dianggap melanggar etik, kode etik adalah karena kode etik sesuatu yang sudah disepakati ya, konsensus. Karena sudah ada konsensus bahwa ini adalah kode etiknya dan apabila itu dilanggar, maka itu memang dikenali sebagai pelanggaran. Kalau kemudian yang bukan pelanggaran etik bahwa pelanggaran etik itu nggak ada, Dokter Joko kan tadi ngerti kok pelanggaran etik itu iya itu kira-kira kalau mengenali bahwa misalnya bukan pelanggaran, apakah ada menurut Dokter Joko hal yang kemudian menjadi penciri atau dilihat sebagai oh ini masalah etik, kita belum tahu ini pelanggaran atau enggak, tapi yang tadi Dokter Joko ngerti kok ini masalah etik. Nah itu biasanya Dokter Joko mengenalinya itu karena ada apa yang muncul gitu.
Yang dilanggar itu kode etik. Etik itu kan bicara baik buruk ya. Akhirnya kembali ke hati nurani. Jadi kalau belum dikodifikasi dalam bentuk kode etik, ya akhirnya kita kembalikan ke kok enggak cocok ya. Barangkali itu yang mungkin yang belum sempat dikodifikasi.
Ya, Dok, kembali kepada value atau yang kita sendiri, parameter diri sendiri. Kalau dia nggak ada di kode etik yang sudah dikodifikasi, maka kalau ada sesuatu yang sepertinya nggak sesuai dengan apa yang saya yakini atau apa keyakinan saya, maka mungkin itu adalah masalah etik gitu ya, Dok. Bahwa di situ ada isu etiknya. Oke, terima kasih Dr. Joko. So yeah, that was a long exchange, but this is very interesting.
I agree.
Yeah, so I do hope that you have Dr. Joko would like to share his perspective, but also because he has a schedule, so he's not going to be able to finish the session with you. So that's why he wants to share in the beginning. Okay, so I'm trying to bridge, and I'll try to express as close as what I capture from Dr. Joko mentioned. So Dr. Joko highlights that. So this is a quote from what Romo Kusmarianto usually discuss during our training, that there is no such thing as ethics violation, because what is violated is the code of ethics. So something that is already coded or something that is already agreed, consensus together that this is how it should be done. So when it's violated, then that's violation of code of ethics. But there is no such thing as ethics violation, because then I clarify what Dr. Joko's perspective about what do you think makes up an ethics issue, or when do you usually recognize it as an ethics issue? Then
Yeah.
Dr. Joko mentions that when it is not in the code of ethics, it's not yet codified, but then it has touches on or against or not sit in line with what we personally believe. That there is something that is not in alignment with what we believe, then that's probably there's an issue of ethics there.
So can
that's,
I just so there is ethics is there's a code of ethics, and then there are personal beliefs. Did you say this?
Yes.
Yeah. Personal beliefs.
Yeah.
And they can sometimes be different.
Yep.
And then this create an ethical it's something an ethical issue. Or?
Yeah. Well, maybe not necessarily, but usually, like if we know that if it's already stated in the code of ethics, then maybe it's easier to see what needs to be done, what is the good way, what is the bad way, because this is a standard.
Yeah.
So when this is not met, then it is a violation of code of ethics. So that's what.
So code of ethics is easier to see the ethics.
Yes, and then if it's not, if it happened that we face something that is not stated yet in the code of ethics, then we have to rely on the personal belief, and so because then the only compass, because it's not yet here stated here, is the personal belief.
Yeah.
So that probably then begins to be recognized as maybe there's an ethical issue because it doesn't sit well with me in personally.
Yeah.
So I will go to Romo.
Just a little bit background of this. In Indonesia, the ethics in English are translated into two words. One is etika, and the other is etik. Etika and ethic. Etika, it is science to do what is good and what is right.
Oh yeah.
And ethic is it is a kumpulan azas. It is the it is collection of you can say it about code of ethics here. So that's why in many Indonesian many times they always say that there is a violation of etika.
Yeah.
And I can say that never become etika, because so many things. Whether you are deontologist or you are a utilitarianist, and whether you are the other things, it can never be a violation of this.
Yeah.
But the code of ethics, you can.
Oh yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I understand. So this is it's just
Etika. It is a science.
Yeah.
It is
science
science.
of ethics.
Yes.
And
it is the
experience norm, social.
Yeah, it is norm, social norm, or I think it is codified by certain societies, for example, medical ethic, etc.
Yeah.
So in Indonesia, we call etika, not etika medis, but kode etik kedokteran. Bukan kode etika kedokteran, tetapi kode etik kedokteran. So this is the background on what Dr. Joko talk about something like this. So it's just a couple.
It's really nice because I said I want to learn, and it's really that I really like that I learn now also from the Indonesian terminology and also your way that you cannot say that you break the ethics science because there are so many different
Yes,
ideas
exactly.
about this is a very important I agree. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. I have a very simple perspective about ethics. So in my perspective, ethics is the moral ground of how should we behave properly.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Nice. The moral ground
That governs our action.
moral ground.
That governs one's action.
Yeah. Of how we should
behave.
Yeah.
As a good person. Yes.
Sorry. Yeah. So this is also about the norms, how we should behave. Yeah. Thanks a lot. So here, just wondering, yeah.
I see that there are three. Let me just make sure if there's any comments in the chat.
Related to this.
Yes. Bisa dibesarkan, Mbak? Okay. Okay. Oh, so there's one question apparently, and then there's also, so this is, I think, ethics is in our hearts. I think what's related to your question is ethics.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Elastria Widita.
Ethics
Hello?
is in.
Okay. Nurani conscience. So, Dr. Trijoko.
Ya, kalau saya memang melihatnya itu kan di mana ya. Jadi di nurani. Kalau saya itu
Yeah, so di hati nurani, yeah. So conscience. So
Cancer.
Conscious, our personal conscious, yeah.
Nurang.
In bahasa we call it nurani.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
How do you?
Oh my God, this is spelling bee.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Is that? Did I pronounce it correctly? Spell it correctly?
And
No?
was this your
Conscious.
conclusion?
Let me look it up in the dictionary so make sure.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I asked you to write
Like in general.
Indonesian.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Miss
No.
Nurani. So hati nurani. So inner voice.
Yeah.
So this is one's inner voice.
Yeah.
Our inner voice.
Inner voice. Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's also so Nurani. Yeah, like your own moral compass about.
Moral compass.
For example, as a professional, you can have conscientious objections or problems to help with certain acts. Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic. And
so we have quotes for that. Ethics in our heart, something in our heart and mind.
Heart and mind, yeah. Heart and mind, and then.
So this is also our colleagues from the neighboring medical school. Dr. Kebutuhan, hello.
Yeah. Hello. Thank you. This is. I really think we could continue this for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and that's so ethics. So what do we learn here? I try to summarize a little bit, and of course we can. It's not finished, but you see, sometimes we can recognize ethics in practice because it's a very practical question, but also a theoretical question. Sometimes we recognize ethics because it is already called ethics. If it's a code of ethics or the 5 principles of Indonesia or
Pancasila is our nation's ideology.
Yeah. So then people already somehow know this is a code of ethics or this is an ethical principle. But it becomes more difficult if we are together in a practice and then somebody is saying to you, Bert, for me, this is an ethical issue. The way how you clean the room, it should be, it should be different. So sometimes it's explicitly in the terminology, but sometimes it's more based on experience. So sometimes people say, I have some ethical issues with what is happening here in practice. And then the other person say, for me, this is not ethics. It's clear what we should do. There is an ethical code of conduct. There is a rule. There is a law. So for me, this is not ethics. It's clear. We have a law. The other person say, well, but I feel it's not good. It's wrong. I feel it in my heart or in my soul or whatever. So here in this simple example, you see different conceptions about how do we know whether something is ethics? And there is not one truth. So I have a slide, maybe I can check already some examples. I will also come back to the transgender question.
Yeah,
But,
I've noted also this. So you have 3 questions. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, I've taken
We have
notice.
until 4 p.m., isn't it? Yeah.
No.
Let me see. Or is it later on? Now I'm a little bit confused. Yeah, this one. So sometimes you, as an ethicist, you are in practice, and sometimes you are in a group and you talk about a case. I call this moral case. One participant brings in his moral dilemma. For me, this is a moral dilemma. And then the another participant reacts. No, Bert, this cannot be a moral dilemma, since the law is clear or we have a professional guideline. So what then do you do? Is it an ethical dilemma or not? Another example. As ethicists, again, another case discussion. One person brings in her dilemma, another person also wants to say, this is not the right dilemma, the right dilemma should be X. So if you talk with people in the hospital, then sometimes people say, no, this is ethics. No, this is ethics. No, this is a dilemma. No, this is a dilemma. I think if we think about how do we recognize an ethics problem, then there are many ways of the conclusion or the summary. There are many ways of identifying ethics. It can be in the law. It can be in the religious text. It can be in your experience. If I experience a moral dilemma, and you think this is important, then you cannot disagree with me. Then I say, well, sorry, for me, this is really a moral issue. Well, it's not. Yes, for me, it's really so. But if you talk about an ethics code, for example, or an ethics rule, then you can say, yeah, this is in the ethics rule, or this is not in the ethics rule. That's clear. So I think it's important to realize that, especially now I'm going back to the hospital. If you work in the hospital, I usually follow more the experience of what people feel about ethical concerns, than that I say, this is an ethical dilemma, and this is not, and this is an ethical dilemma. So in the clinical ethics, ethicists follow more the experience of the cleaner, the secretary, the nurse, the doctor, the leader. But sometimes the ethicists say, well, Bert, this is not really a dilemma, because according to the textbook, the dilemma should be blah, 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 this. So it's just a brief. I hope it helped a little bit. Maybe it confused you also. It helped a little bit about, it's not that easy to recognize ethics, and there are different ways or ways of viewing of what ethics is or what ethics is not.
Okay, can I make a little bit of comment? So just to clarify that, so is it, can we say then that if we realize there are different ways or different perspectives of how people perceive something that maybe they consider this is a moral issue, ethics issue, and whatnot. So does the underlying message, clinical ethics, is just to acknowledge that, so that because it's their experience, it is their perspective that what makes ethical issues for them. So as a clinical ethicist or clinical ethics support, need to acknowledge that, regardless whether or not it fits with the textbook or not. Is that what the underlying message is?
Yeah, I think my underlying message is because we in clinical ethics we are more have more attention or focus on experience of people, and we should respect it. We should maybe should not say, well, this is not ethics. So I think in clinical ethics we follow. It's not how to say it, we respect more their experience.
Do you want to use?
Sorry, yeah.
So that
Yeah, sorry for the online people. Yeah, so indeed, so my message here is that in clinical ethics, experience is a very important source, asking people what they experience. But there's always a but, because sometimes as an ethicist, you see ethical issues that people don't see or that people don't experience. I have a small example for my PhD. It's a very small, well, maybe I don't have to write it down. In my PhD, I studied how surgeons informed patients. And there were two surgeons. So imagine there is one patient, and he has to go to surgery, perhaps, and it's a heavy surgery. 10%, so statistics, 10% of the people that go into the surgery die. So that's a fact. That's no ethics, that's a fact. Then there are two surgeons. I was a PhD student and I was studying how the surgeons. Then one surgeon A is saying, dear patient, I will inform you about the surgery. It's a very routine surgery. We do it every day and 90% of the patients will survive. So you are in a good hands. That's surgeon A. Surgeon B. Well, dear patients, this is a risky surgery. We do it many times. And I have to inform you that 10 out of 100 people will die. It's a complex surgery. Okay, stop. Is this ethics? I think it's ethics. The surgeon maybe don't think, well, I'm doing ethics now. But I see that the two surgeons have the same facts from the statistics, evidence-based medicine, but one surgery is only focusing on survival, and the other surgeon is focusing on dying, mortality rate. So in my PhD, I thought, well, this is if the surgeon and the patients, they don't experience this as an ethical issue. But I think, well, what the ethics question here is, what is good information? And the ethics question is, are those surgeons, do they manipulate the patients? Or are they just neutrally informing? I'm not saying they were manipulating intentionally the patient. So I'm not offending the surgeon. But I think this is ethics already. It's very small. So that's a long answer to your question. Sorry, to explain that, yes, we should follow experience. But of course, as an ethicist, you can point to, well, dear surgeons, what is a better way of informing? What is truth or what is respectful? And then you have a moral question, although it's only about giving information. Long answer.
Yeah, thank you, no problem. Thank you for highlighting that. So then we get to, I personally understand this as a way that it's even more bigger venue for us people and practitioners to recognize that ethics will depend on one experience, and then second, if we are ethicists, then we have our own view lenses that we are able to pick up something that maybe practitioners aren't able to.
Yeah.
So there are so complicated and complex. I'm just saying that what we learn in theory, in concept, in textbook makes up only parts of what the actual ethics is, because it's in the experience, in the practice, it's more complicated and complex. Even maybe it's difficult for the practitioners or us to put certain label on it. I mean, just to clarify that.
That's a very, yeah, thanks. That's a very good summary. Yeah, thanks.
I think your example about the case of the two surgeons explaining to the patients, 2 points is paramount here. The first is the autonomy of the patient. And the second is the truth telling the truth in a good way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really, I totally agree. So respecting the autonomy here means you should maybe inform both sides of the coin, survival and mortality. Yeah, yeah, thanks. That's really, okay. Now I'm going back a long time. One more question and then we, this one. We will not have a long brainstorm. But this is also thinking about ethics in the hospital. What is the role of ethics in the hospital here? So that's a factual question, empirical question. And maybe you can talk about this later in your group. Not today, but what should be? So this should be italic. So that's a normative question. What should be the role of ethics in the hospital? And in education, we also have a discussion about this for 1 hour or 30 minutes with my students. Not only with students, but also with the nurses and doctors. And especially with the leaders. I talk a lot with leaders in hospitals about the place of ethics in the hospital. So I already go to an answer of this question. But I think it's, you can have this question. I would suggest for the people, especially for the people working in or with the hospital. It seems to maybe an abstract question, but I hope you can talk with it about if we want to pay attention to ethics in this hospital or in the many hospitals in Jogja. How do we perceive ethics? What kind of ethics, and what should be the role? Sorry. So one role of ethics that ethicists usually work on is say, well, let's develop a mission statement. That's ethics. The identity of this hospital. Another ethicist, so it is all different ways of doing ethics in hospital. Another ethicist saying, well, ethics should be about what should be allowed or what is not allowed. We should develop clear norms, ethical guidelines, and people should follow these guidelines. If you work in this hospital, you should never hit a patient, or you should never start a relationship with your patient. That's a norm. Maybe I think it's also a law. I don't know. But so that's also a way of ethics. That's normative ethics. This is more inspirational ethics, more your moral identity as a hospital, your moral identity as a profession. You can also say, well, if we do ethics in the hospital, then we go to the ethics committee. We ask the ethicist. That's ethics. It's also possible. In Amsterdam, we do all those things. So I'm not saying that one answer is better. It's just realize that you can ethics in different ways. You can also say, well, ethics is more like the Socratic dialogue, like learning, like a dialogue. It's more like a vehicle for joint learning. So it's more like, let's talk together about your moral experiences. Let's talk about your moral concern, your moral stress. So it's more learning. This is also learning, but learning from the expert. This is self-learning. Nowadays, especially in, I'm not sure here about in Asia, but or in Indonesia, but especially in Europe and in the States, ethics is used as a way of taking care for the professions. So ethics is used, ethics reflection, ethics training, ethics debriefing. So debriefing is telling about your work and your stress in your work. That's debriefing. It's a way of self-care for the professions, because many nurses and doctors in Amsterdam, they leave the job or they are on sick leave, not only because of the workload, but also because of the moral stress, the moral problems, like in COVID. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ways of ethics in hospital. And if you look at the literature, then, for example, banks, business ethics, companies, also prison, military service, they use a lot with this kind of ethics. Ethics is clear. This is wrong. This is good. And you should follow this line. And if not, we will punish you or sanction you. So that's one way of ethics. So I don't know the leaders in the hospital in the hospitals here, but sometimes I'm a little bit afraid, to be honest. We need norms, we need clear guidance, and we need also enforcement, I think, if people misbehave, misconduct. But sometimes I'm really afraid that ethics is only seen as norms, as this. So like a moral police. Again, I know from some countries in Eastern Europe, I think ethics is abused. Now I use a heavy word. Ethics is abused because they use ethics to control professions and as a moral police. And the other way is that the professions say, well, they use ethics only to control me. I will not be open about what I'm doing. I will not ask questions. I just follow the rules because otherwise they sanction me. So I think we need clear norms, but it can also be a risk that people don't feel space for doubt or vulnerability or having questions about what is morally good here. Okay. Long answer. I don't know if there is any questions from.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think this is very the highlight. I think I don't know, but you just mentioned about this 5 ways of doing ethics in the hospital for clinical ethics. I think this is kind of like the highlight or the summary of types of how ethics is applied or done. And this is interesting. Maybe just my personal opinion that this is, for me personally, is very new. New, as in using ethics for self-care, like the object to be cared for by doing ethics is the health professionals itself. Because I think what is often still the case in our health practice with our health profession is that because of the complication of the issue, the problem with the patient, and it's difficult to make decisions. So that's up until now, that still often becomes the issue, the main object of the ethics.
The complication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like doing ethics
the
to make the decision for the patient. Like, so we're discussing like end of life care and how do we care for the patient. So it's still in that area. But I think this one is like something that is huge than that. So ethics not only for how to care for the patient, but for caring for the health professionals itself, taking care of the mental health, the moral resilience. I think, I don't know, but like in my personal assumption, maybe in Indonesia, maybe this is still not that much with that approach. I don't know, personally. Or maybe, so do you want to go to the questions, answering the questions, or do you want to invite how the comments are?
Many more slides, but it's more important. It's more important to respond to you.
Yes.
And again, sorry to I have the next slide is about how we do ethics support in the hospital. So I'm really
And I also take notes so that I can remind you.
Oh yeah, that's good, Vika. Yeah.
There's a question about the ethics committee. To my former question. Who are the members of the ethics committee in Netherlands or in Amsterdam hospitals?
Yeah.
Because here in Indonesia, it's more likely that the members of the ethics committee in hospital are the clinicians. So it's a little bit different experience when I was studying in Leuven University in Belgium.
Oh.
Yeah, I have to attend the meetings in Leuven hospitals as an observer.
Or the ethics committees meetings?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, just as observer.
Yeah.
Passively.
Yeah.
So there in ethics committee in the hospital in Leuven, the member is just one doctor. Just one doctor, because this doctor have holistic perspective, and the other is ethicist, lawyer, laypersons, nurse, and the pharmacist. So multidisciplinary member, but here it's a little bit different.
So thanks for this very important question. In Amsterdam, the committee is we have about 20 members, and the chair of the committee is a psychiatrist, and I'm the vice chair. So I'm the vice chair. And then there are, so I'm an ethicist, of course. And then we have, how do you call it? The daily board of the committee. So it's with the chair, the vice chair, and 2 ethicists. So in the committee, we have at least 3 ethicists in total, but the chair is a psychiatrist, and the other 16 members are, like you said, like in Leuven, a lawyer, other doctors, nurses, pastoral care, theology, layperson from the client council or the patient council. We have somebody from the human resource management. And let me try to and somebody from quality management. So it's a interdisciplinary group. And then the second, and because you asked 2 questions, this is the answer to the first. And I think it's very important, personally, that the ethics committee is not only with nurses and doctors. Of course, they have ethics. So I'm not saying that because I said ethics is everywhere. Ethics is also with cleaners. But I think it's very important that in ethics you learn from different perspectives on the same case. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you. You have answered for that question directly for who the member of the ethics committee in hospital is. Do you have other question? Do you want to put?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay, so still related to ethics committee and the hospital. So I think what Dr. Peter earlier is more about the experience or how it was set up in the Netherlands. Is that it? Yeah. So if you can share the experience, how in Netherlands the ethics committee and like maybe the main vision, is it to safeguard? Like, is it to find enforce norms, or is it more into which function that ethics in hospital is doing for that?
That's a very, very important question. Thank you for the online person. Well, there are of course many answers, but in Amsterdam, in Amsterdam University Medical Center, our ethics committee is, I think, doing, a little bit of all, but the most is that we do these 3. So in the ethics committee in Amsterdam, I'm only talking about Amsterdam now. And to be honest, this is recorded, the lecture, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
To be honest, but I can be honest, I think as an ethics committee in Amsterdam, we could do more in developing guidelines or criticizing policy. So I think we are a little bit weak on this in Amsterdam, to be honest. But what we often do is sometimes we get questions. For example, the board of directors in Amsterdam, the management, the board of directors, they ask us in the committee, we have a policy problem, a question. Can you help us to give an expert answer? And the question was, in Amsterdam, from the board of directors, should we allow that people with a lot of money pay some treatments or pay some research in medication, pharmacy, or treatment, pay by themselves, while other patients with less money don't have the possibility? Should we allow this? So that's an asking about a norm, isn't it? So that's a norm question. But we do a lot of
dialogue
cases and dialogues in the committee, and of course I didn't one of the next slides is about we have a committee, but we have 50 ethics facilitators, 50 on every department, almost every. I will tell about that later.
Yeah, okay.
So this is only ethics, but then in the Netherlands, I think in the Netherlands, I think many committees in the Netherlands also, they struggle. They don't have the time, they don't have the resources, and they don't have the expertise don't have the expertise, and they don't have ethicists. We are in Amsterdam, is a big hospital, 3 ethicists. We have an ethics department, but in many hospitals, small hospitals in the Netherlands, there is no ethicist. and they also don't have the time or the expertise to develop norms or guidelines or policy. So many ethics committees, and sorry for my Dutch colleagues, I think many of them, they focusing on dialogues and case discussions, which is okay. But they are not trained to do this.
Okay. Yep. Thank you, Prof. Bert. Yeah. So, but I think so. So that point that using ethics, doing ethics, and making the dialogue is way more practical. Like it's like a first aid. Like it's really day-to-day basis. So this is a basic need, right?
Yeah.
Using
it's a basic need, and it's also a low threshold. It's easy to offer. So I can tell more about the 50 ethicists, 50 facilitators in the hospital. They don't have any ethics theory, but they can facilitate ethics discussions quite well. Not as a teacher, not as an ethicist, like some of you are, but to facilitate the dialogue on ethics.
Okay.
So that's really something different, being an ethicist or facilitating a dialogue. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Bert. Yes. Oh yeah, Bu Siwi.
Bert, so the first three is actually the top-down, right?
Yeah.
The first three.
Yeah.
And then the fourth and the fifth is the bottom-up.
Yeah.
Right? But when you compare in real world, I mean, have you tried to compare whether the fourth and the fifth, or the more on dialogues, eventually also the same as, or not the same, but close to the top down, or the code of conduct, maybe?
This is a wonderful question. Yeah, because it's a wonderful question. I could talk 1 hour about that question.
We only have 2 minutes
Really?
left.
Really, and there are some slides, but I will. What the problem with the dialogue is, I like dialogues. I miss the dialogue in the Netherlands. But the problem with dialogue is that it's sometimes not connected to the norms or not resulting in norms. So sometimes, I hope you understand me, and if you don't understand, so sometimes we have a lot of dialogues, but they only say, then they leave the dialogue and they say, Bert, this was really nice. We had a nice dialogue. And then they go back to work again.
There's no solution, or there's no main message.
But sometimes there's no main message, but even on an abstract level, there's also not a policy consequence. So now I'm going to answer your question. So what we do in Amsterdam, sometimes we organize dialogues, but for example, 10 dialogues about the use of coercion in psychiatry. 10 dialogues in 1 year. And then after that year, we are working as researchers. Now I'm a researcher. We are analyzing the dialogues, the arguments, the contra, the pros. We are analyzing them, just like doing research. And then we say, okay, based on the bottom-up dialogues, we see there is a kind of tendency for this norm or this policy. And then we go to the board or to the management and we say, bottom-up, based on the bottom-up, we have now 10 dialogues about use of coercion in psychiatry. And we see this norm and we suggest that we should write down or make this norm. So there you see the movement from dialogue with norm, and the other way around is also possible. For example, the other way around would be that the board would say it's not allowed to use forced medication coercion to psychiatric patients. Then you can have dialogues about that norm as well. So that's more bottom up. But I really like your question that I think it's very rich, but there's also wisdom. If you only have dialogues and you don't build norms out of it, then it's a little bit, how you say, without consequences.
Okay.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If only dialogue without conclusion, and it's usually weak. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, I have to be the bad person here because we only have 10 minutes left. So do you have any other slide that you feel is very important that you need to present before then going back to, we have 2 questions.
Yeah.
So do you want to?
Yeah, so maybe 5 minutes for slides and
Okay.
then 5 minutes closing.
Okay.
Question?
Well, the question, yeah, we have two questions, like Prof. Rika, and then the other one from online about the LGBTQ. Yeah. Promo after the 5 minutes of presentation, and then promo before. So we have 3 questions after your 5 minutes.
3 questions. Okay, then I will be very.
Sorry.
No, I will be maybe only announce what's working. I will. There are so many slides. You can. It's about theory. Yeah. Let me think. Well, I want to tell too much. Maybe I should just stick to the practical question. This is also, of course, something about human and how we do ethics, and I also have a slide about the abuse of ethics. But that's for maybe another time. I want to come back to the more. So this is about the slide about how can you do ethics support in the Netherlands and in Europe. You can do ethics in different ways. Ethics committees, ethics consultants, like in the States. This is more not only the expertise model, the dialogues, reflection, ethics grounds is going, and moral counseling. I didn't talk about moral counseling. Moral counseling is helping patients and family with their moral. And then let me see. So this is the 2 last slides. This is how it's organized in Amsterdam. So here you see first there was no money for ethics support in Amsterdam. So 3 years in a row, 2015, I think, 15, I asked for money for 1 year to do ethics committee, moral deliberate, the dialogues and the training. And then I used research. Now I'm coming back to the beginning. I used the evaluation. So we did each year I got some grants for 1 year to do ethics. And then we used questionnaires and interviews. And we asked the nurses, the doctors, do you like this ethics? Is it important? They 95% said, this is so important. So next year we go to the board. Can we have some money again? And the people say here from research, they say it's very important for us. So I got some money again. And then the 3rd year, I again went to the board. I said, sorry, I'm here there again. Can I have some money for next year? And here you see how people think this is important for us. So it's important if you want to sell ethics and implement ethics, you need a kind of research to show or not show that it's relevant. You need social science. So after 3 years, the board said, well, we now see in 3 years in a row, ethics is very important for our employees, for our professionals. You get money every year. So every year now I get money, not for the academic ethics, for the research, but for the clinical ethics. And this is what we do. So now every year I have quite a lot of money. In the Netherlands, I think we get 1.3 academic staff. 1.3 for to do this. On average, so the money is for 1 full-time ethicist and another 30%. So it's not one person, but it's many.
Okay.
And so this is what we do. We have 1 ethics committee. We have facilitators, 50. And that's important. We think ethics should not become from us, from the ethics department. Ethics is from the hospital. So people should have dialogues themselves. We have moral counseling, we have consultation, of course, ethics education. We have action research projects on Me Too dialogues. I could talk also a lot about it. So this is more ethics projects. This is really a project, 1 year, 2 year. This is about education. This is the dialogues of different ways. And then the next slide. Last slide. This is about how we are organized. This is a Dutch slide, so sorry for this. But I show this slide because it's so important to build relations in the hospital. Not only to go to your ethics committee, but also to build relations. So here you see there's the ethics department, ethics professorship, that's my chair, ethics committee, pastoral care, facilitators of dialogues from the department 50, so not from all the clinical departments. Here we work together with the board of directors, the directors, the management. Here we work together with human resource management to take care for the professionals, self-care and moral resilience. That's here. This is the working group for using ethics to improve the quality of care, so quality management. All those connections. So my job is 1 day a week, I'm busy with all the relationships and the networks in the hospital. Not only going to the committee, but talking to human resource, economics, many professions. And then we organized an advisory group. And in the advisory group, there are no ethicists, but there are people from human resource, management, educational staff, leadership staff, and they help us. We say, we need your help, how we can do ethics better in the hospital. So here you see that there are many things that we are doing in ethics. We also are connected to all those different groups, like human resource, and the ombudsman or the confidentiality officer, the complaint office. We work with lawyers, we work with them. So in this way, we are not doing only ethics, but really try to integrate ethics with the hospital. Yeah.
Wow.
That's yeah. But this is the result of 10 years work.
Oh, 10 years. Okay. No wonder it's 10 years.
In Amsterdam, we are in a luxury position, so it's not to show off, because the hospitals in the Netherlands, they don't have the possibilities. We have an ethics department. We have clinical ethics research, clinical ethics teachers. We have the chair. So we really have the possibility to build this further. Now the question.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. Like very short request from us. Is it possible that you can later put the English so that because it is such an important
slide. It's an important slide. Yeah,
but we don't understand
the
word, and so if it's possible later,
I will make it. I will change this, and I also will explain why this slide is important. This slide is important that you don't.
So we know like the range and the model, how it could be implemented, like the units that is needed or required in place so that it can be practiced really in daily and institutional. Thank you so much, Robert. And so I think I will go back to the question that are already lining up here, and then Romo.
Yeah.
But we have, I don't know, but sorry, we will going to be a bit over time.
I will be brief.
Yeah. So
for no answer. No.
So the question from Prof. Rika about the precision medicine. So I believe it's about the practice, how it's practiced in the Netherlands in terms of the ethical issue for precision medicine practice in Netherlands, in your awareness, as you're aware of, and then the kind of support system or a project that is accompanying the precision medicine practice. Is there such thing to take care of the ethics issues of the precision medicine?
I think the short answer is that we are focusing on ethics on precision medicine, but it's usually in the ethics education. So when we teach ethics, it's about ethics and precision medicine and the relevance, and a little bit about the research. But to be honest, in the hospital, like ethics support, I'm not aware of helping them with the ethical issues. So it's more in teaching, I think. That's a very short answer.
What about genetic counseling for the patients? Genetic counseling, is that present?
Yeah. Genetic counseling is present, and there are many genetic counselors and also genetic psychological counselors to inform. Yeah.
And they are also with this, maybe, I don't know, facilitating ethics discussion or
not that I know. So we are not really No, I'm not sure. Maybe some of the genetic counselors are visiting the committee or are trained as a facilitator, but I don't have the overview.
Okay.
No.
Thank you, Prof.
Sorry, yeah.
Itu dulu ya, Prof. Parang ya, Prof. Matur nuwun, Prof. And then for the third question comes from the chat. I think it's about the issue LGBTQ. How is it managed ethically in Netherlands? Maybe just a brief. Are you aware of any project or programs or services about that?
You mean how the ethics
The issue
for transgender care?
Yeah, maybe transgender care. Maybe if you are aware of the.
Yeah, there's still a. Thank you for the question. I work already 12 years with the transgender clinic in Amsterdam. So there are many ethical issues there, both from the professionals but also from the patients. And at the moment, the last 2 years, I created gender dialogues. That's called gender dialogues to create dialogues, not fights, but dialogues between gender clients and gender healthcare professionals.
Okay.
So I could talk long about this. So I have a lot of experience, and it's a huge issue in the, of course, many political debates also. And in Europe, there are some countries also very critical about gender care. So it's it's a huge issue.
Yeah, huge and sensitive issue, but there's this program, right?
There's this program, and one of the PhDs on the first slides, he is called Karel Gerritsen on the first slide. He did his PhD on ethics support in transgender care. And another thesis, Laura Hartman, I can give information. If the person is interested, I can give more information by email.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, that's an overview of how it is managed, like in your awareness to LGBTQ. Okay, thank you, Prof. And now, Promo, I think you're going to be the last person.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm interested in your research on PhD on patient autonomy, right? Yeah. And for us, it is also interesting because here in Indonesia, we are just developing what we call it autonomi kekerabatan. It is Indonesian language. What we mean is something like this. In our finding that all person is capable of doing, competent of doing decision. In many occasions, it is not the patient who decided. And it is sometimes whether the family, even it's not family, it is outsider, completely outsider in the circle. So now we are still developing what we call it autonomi kekerabatan, because somebody who make decision is not exactly the patient. So I mean that maybe we can share each other in the future or now, but unfortunately I have to leave because I have to teach. Now. But is there any something like this in Netherlands, or everybody decided by themselves if the patient is competent about this? Because it's only 10 kilometers from here. Yeah. And the first finding about this is very interesting. Very interesting. It's finding the first finding of our research. Now we are doing research on
autonomy.
Yeah. On autonomi kekerabatan. It is sometimes many who make decision is not patient, is not family, but the other people who is completely different people. For example, the religious leader or other person who is something like that. My question is there any something like this in Netherlands, or everybody decided for himself or herself? Thank you.
This is a very nice topic. And we should have contact the next week. I'm here another week. So if your question is there research on patient autonomy, especially when people are not competent? There's a patient competent, but others than family and patient, they decide. Yes. Yeah. It's sorry, cultural. Yeah, I think there's more and more attention for that in the Netherlands as well. Although we are quite an individualistic society, we are also becoming more and more multicultural, of course, for a long time already in the Netherlands. So there are also for example, certain religious beliefs or cultures, not only religious, in which it's not desired morally. They don't think it's good that the patient decides. It's better that the religious leader decides. Or so yes, we have this topic as well, and I want to share that with you later. It's also a topic, and I'm now supervising a PhD student in Tanzania about clinical ethics in Tanzania, and there this is a very huge topic as well, about people that are competent but they are not doing the decisions. So yeah, so this was a short reaction. Sorry, but it's a really important question.
Thank you, Prof. Bert. Since the time is already over, 5 minutes over time, but I'm so thankful that the participants are still here and some of the participants online are still with us as well. But just to wrap up, that the basic target for this morning is to kick off, to heat it up everybody, that bioethics is for everyone and it's present in daily lives and even in very trivial incidents. So we really do hope this is going to make a huge invitation for everyone, including all health professionals, to be able to join the discussion with you with our sections. And so we are apologizing if there is any questions or comments that is not yet been addressed because of the time limitation. And sorry, Prof. Bert, if you have slides that haven't been able to be highlighted because of the limited time. But we want to thank everyone for the participation and also the discussion. We really do hope this short 1.5 hours is going to make a good start for the week. Also make a good start for the next collaboration and interaction. Final comments, remarks before we...
No, I really thank you for the attention, and I hope this is only the beginning.
Only the beginning. This is just a kickoff. This is just.
It's only the first 1.5 hour of clinical ethics in.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you, terima kasih Bapak dan Ibu atas partisipasi dan perhatiannya. Mohon maaf ada keterbatasan termasuk teknis dan waktu. Kami berharap ini menjadi awalan yang baik sehingga Bapak dan Ibu sekiranya tertarik dan ingin melanjutkan bergabung, maka ada sederetan acara dan kegiatan bersama Prof. Bert sampai minggu depan hari Rabu. Jadi informasi nanti akan bisa diakses di link yang nanti akan di-share mungkin di Zoom. Dan untuk Bapak dan Ibu peserta yang ada di sini nanti bisa menghubungi panitia apabila ada pertanyaan informasi tentang kegiatan acara. Demikian kami akhiri acara kuliah umum pagi hari ini untuk kick off Bioethics Week. Selamat pagi dan selamat melanjutkan aktivitas. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Prof. Bert. Such a heated.
Yeah.
And yeah.
No, and because there were so many really nice. Yeah.